Here we are again, people, and I just had a text conversation with my old friend Jim Pennock from the neighborhood, and he inspired me to. Well, I was thinking about videoing anyways, but he gave me some hints about some things to talk about, and I'm going to continue my theme of growing up in the late. I mean, in the late '60s, early '70s is when I, became kind of aware of things. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. In no particular order, but at my house on the corner of Gregson Avenue and Metropolitan, is it Metropolitan Lane? Road? Metropolitan Avenue? I can't remember. It was Metropolitan Lane, I think it was called. There was a bus stop right by my house. So when we got to be, maybe we were 11, 12, maybe as young as 10, but I don't think so. Our parents probably wouldn't let us go down by ourselves downtown. But we'd hop on the bus, and the Canyon Rim bus, number 13, and take it to downtown and have all kinds of adventures in downtown. And I want to talk a little bit about some of those adventures. I remember, first of all, I'll talk about this one. I remember, we'd go downtown and just exploring all the shops down there, and about this time, I think we were into foosball. This is maybe, and anyways, we would go and play in this kind of a seedy looking place with a billiards table, and walk down in the basement and play foosball. I think we only did this one time, but happened to run into two local, downtown ruffians, local boys that wanted to challenge us to a game of foosball. I think it was me and Jeff. It may have been only me and him on this trip. Me and Jeff Howell challenged him to foosball. And I think we destroyed them, if I remember correctly. We were getting pretty good. We were honed our skills at there's a local arcade in our neighborhood, and we frequent that in a strip mall just down below our house. So we were getting kind of good, and I think we destroyed them. Anyways, it doesn't matter, but for whatever reason, they wanted to fight us, and we weren't fighters. If we would have had my friend from elementary school, Little League, Tom Wells, oh, he loved to get in fights. Or Chuck Dunford. Yeah, they would welcome getting into the fight. So these guys, we want to fight you or something like that. And so we went out, we hopped on the bus, and lo and behold, these guys got on the bus after us. And I got the feeling they had a thing with the bus driver. They were local ruffians from the downtown area, and the bus driver didn't even charge them. I know we're paying for our bus fare, and these guys just hop on the bus and come to the back of the bus. And if I remember, also on the bus, I saw a friend from I think I knew him from football because he lived across 33rd South. And, what was his name? Last name Niponsky. Nick Ponsky. Was it Nick Ponsky? I can't remember his first name. But we we saw some familiar face, and I think I knew him from Little League football or something. And he said, "Oh," he gave us some advice. He was more of a, worldly type, knew what it meant to fight people. We were not fighters, we're lovers. So anyways, he said, "I'd warm up your hands. You're gonna cut your hands if you punch somebody with your bare hands." And so we were all getting geared up to fight these ruffians, and they hopped on the bus, and I remember having that conversation with Nick Neponsky. I can't remember his first name. Nick? Was it Nick Neponsky? Anyways, lo and behold, they jumped off the bus a couple blocks later. They got tired of, we were gonna ride it to near the end in Canyon Rim, so we could not fight on the bus. And so they gave up, thought they would, but I just remember thinking, oh wow, downtown's a cold place. But that was one of our memories, our downtown adventures. I can't remember if Jim came with us. I don't think Jim was there. But anyways, I can't remember how much it cost to ride. I think there was a period where the bus was really cheap, like a dime or something. But I think that was like a special deal. But anyways, our parents would give us money to ride downtown on the bus, and then we'd go to the record stores and the malls, cruise the mall. Boy, that was the thing, cruising the mall. And I was just thinking about some of the record stores. I don't think the bus took us there, but at that time, Wally's Records was quite well known, but it began in a house on, I think, 17th South or 13th South, maybe it was 17th South. And the bus wouldn't take us there, so I must have gone there when a friend would drive us, or an friend's older brother. That's where I think Nolan Howe would find all his records, his Uriah Heep, and all these obscure bands that I never heard of, that you'd only hear on like FM. Uriah Heep, I can't remember, it was them or their younger brother Jeff, Pink Floyd. Jeff got us into Yes. He came home with, he got for Christmas the Yes Close to the Edge album, and I remember just blowing my mind. But oh boy, records were a big deal in our youth. I mean, getting those album covers and just poring over them and reading every word printed on them, and those were good times. But then I think Wally's moved down on State or Main and to a bigger store. But Jim was mentioning all the record store names, which some of them I don't remember, but he said down the Cottonwood Mall was Raspberry Records. I remember the record store, but I just don't remember the name of it. And it's Raspberry Records, but I couldn't. Jim helped me come up with that. And let's see. And then there was the one on Main Street, and that's where I think I bought Elton John's Greatest Hits for a Christmas gift for one of my sisters. I think at that store, but I can't remember if it was Wally Records at the time. But oh, that was a good album. And then I remember downtown there was a gentrification that happened on a part of town, that an upscale It was, we had the old Skag stores. I think this was owned by like the Skag Sun or something downtown, a red brick building, kind of a shopping mall with little boutiques in it, and I can't remember the name of that, but I think it's gone. It's gone now. But I remember there being some records in there. Of course, Wally's Records. Jim, in my text, Jim mentioned other places. Later on, Randy's Records. I never knew Randy's existed on 9th South, I think, about 150 East or something like that. But apparently that's been there since the 70s. That's where my daughter goes to look for records these days. Randy's Records. And I think a little while ago I saw one of the Led Zeppelin, maybe it was Robert Plant, popped in there, and there's a YouTube video of that, of him stopping in for whatever reason. I guess somebody put him up to it, but oh yeah, fond memories. But then Jim talked about the Tapehead Company on State Street, and he even remembered the exact address in the 665 South State Tapehead Company, THC, which I never made the connection when I was a kid. It was just like a head shop, there's still bongs and different things, but cassettes and records and 8-track tapes. So Tapehead was 665 South State, under the sign of the Super Mouse. I couldn't remember that exact phrase, but I said, I seem to remember under the sign of the Super Rat or Super something. And Jim said, oh, it's the Super Mouse. Oh, yeah. So that was funny. And then the radio stations back then. And he remembered the call numbers. I remembered this, around the 1300s on AM radio, he came up with KRSP radio and KCPX radio. I think that was the one I remember most, KCPX. And, KNAC. These were the ones that played all the hits. And, oh man, I remember a couple times a year that, I think, was it Wolfman? Do a countdown of the top hits. At number 40, we have, Reel It in the Years by so-and-so. Steely Dan, was it? Steely Dan? Reel It in the Years. I can't remember who sang that. And I remember one time in the Grand Central store, which is kind of like Smith's today, or Fred Meyer. Grand Central, they had a stereo section, a small stereo section, and headphones. And I remember one day going in there and putting on some headphones, and with the headphones you can't hear yourself, so apparently I was singing pretty loud. I was singing along the radio and feeling in the years, stowing away the time, can you gather up your tea, or something like that. And I was apparently singing way off tune because I couldn't hear myself, and somebody said, "You're way too loud." That's a funny memory. But and then I'm jumping all over the place. Just memories are flowing. But do you remember every store? Kmart had hot nuts under lights, and you'd buy a bag of hot peanuts or hot mixed nuts or something, and they were so delicious. And Grand Central had at their, I guess the far south exit, their kind of candy section, and all that was where we'd hang out and look at all the candy bars, and I haven't. And they had an Atari machine, and I was never that into it, but some of my friends were really good at it, and they were constantly putting quarters into that thing, playing the Atari video games, driving that car with the steering wheel and the skids around the corners and the, oh man. And then I remember one, how was doing? 15 minutes, oh my heavens, the time just gets away from us. I remember one time, I can't remember who I was up there with. We had our parents take us up to nearby Skaggs on Olympus Hills, and went into there, and they had an Atari machine. And I remember we hopped on that, and the local kids, the local ruffians, we were on their turf. And I remember them, Red and Rice's younger brother, who you know, was much younger than us, but they had his dad was into Nautilus or something. He's weightlifting, so he was a lot younger than us, but he was, you know, pretty muscly kid. But I remember them, you know, kind of, hey, get out of our store or something like that. And I was like, oh wow. And it's times like this you would love to have Tom Wells with you. He wouldn't shy away from anything. I remember one time at Grand Central up nearby us, some older kid was starting to give him a hassle over something, and they went outside and he leveled the guy. Big. I mean, Tom was not afraid to fight anybody. Chuck wasn't either. Oh yeah, bring on the fights. See, they grew up a bunch. You know, a bunch of brothers and a bunch of neighbor boys. They love to fight. We're not afraid of it. Oh man, I would probably lose my temper and then just. Oh, this is funny. One thing we did do. I'm jumping all over and I apologize. Okay, I'll keep it under 20 minutes. We used to like to box, or I remember when it seemed like around the Olympic time that people would start, you know, running. The Olympics would inspire us. So it must have been the '72 Olympics. We were all inspired by that and doing all kinds of running and boxing and with boxing gloves on, I was never that afraid. But I remember one time having a boxing match with Rick Barry up the street. He was a lot taller than I, but my same age, and I landed a punch on his nose, and he got a bloody nose, and we had to stop immediately. So I guess I that was one fight I kind of won, I guess. But yeah, he was prone to bloody noses. And then I remember one time, boxing. We had boxing gloves on. We were in the backyard, and Jeff Howell and I went at it for some reason. I mean, it was a planned thing. But I remember he's much, you know, he's much bigger boned and bigger than I, and at least at the time I think he was. And I remember I think he landed a punch on me. It really made me really angry. I remember you know, I don't know. It made me something. You know, no style, no technique. I just went nuts and was going after Jeff. I don't know if Jeff remembers that. He's got a good memory, so he'll probably remember that. But oh, it's a good time to be alive. 60s and 70s. Well, that's approaching 20 minutes. So I'll leave this video at that, and we'll see what I think of tomorrow or the next day, or maybe later on this walk. That's all for now. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.